What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you Rob's first place Earth Madness deck. He's kind of titled it VINT, and why it's called VINT is it involves Vernusylphs, Ishizu cards, Naturia cards, and Traptrix. It's basically just an Earth turbo deck that utilises a heck of a lot of control with stuff like Nat Beast, followed up by Sarah with additional trap cards, and push plays for OTK. So massive congratulations to Rob, who took first place at Locals with this deck. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise and really did cause a mass amount of issues. So for all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So we start off with the Vernusylphs. So the Vernusylphs are of course going to be triple of the Flourishing Hills alongside double of the Awakening Forest. Now the reason you've got both of these is because this is kind of like the bridge between the Naturias and the Traptrix, as both of those decks kind of want those monsters to be on the board. Now, mainly the Traptrix want to be your normal summon because they get different effects when they're normaled rather than specialed. However, the Naturias don't really care how they get to the board, whether they're normal or specialed. So that's where the Vernusylphs kind of come into play. I believe he was playing a third version of the Awakening Forest as well, so you kind of want to be playing 6. And the reason you got this is the Hills has the ability to search you out the forest, but it also then has the ability of special summoning from the graveyard, and Forest gives you the ability to Foolish Burial. And the reason it's very important to Foolish Burial any, I believe it is Earth monster, is that you get the ability to send your Ishizu cards, so your Yugioh, your Kelbeck, your Medora, and of course your Kaleido. Now obviously all of these have their own graveyard effects, basically not acting like Call by the Graves, but being able to spin cards back from the graveyard as well as milling cards. Now that's where the Naturia comes in, because the Naturias actually don't mind being in the graveyard, and some of them have some very cool recursion plays, as well as Sacred Tree being a card that searches you out the Naturias. So you're able to pretty much maintain your normal summon while getting everything else on the board that you need to, and then if you don't have the normal summon of a Traptrix, you then get the normal summon of the Naturia. Not to mention, if you were to go from Hills into Forest, you're going to get the capabilities of a rank 4, and that straight away gives you access to Rafflesia, which of course is a Traptrix monster. Not only can that be turned into Sarah if you want to, you can also go into the Penigula, and Penigula can then get you into Sarah as well, while also searching you out the Traptrix starter or protection from the Biru. So I can kind of see where the Vernusylphs are providing so much more protection from this, and the Ishizu cards are giving you graveyard capabilities as well. Then for the Naturias, there are triple Camilla, triple Mole Cricket, alongside a single Rose Whip, which he said he's going to change this to the Hornet, and then the one Sunflower. So the Sunflower is not a once per turn, very annoyingly. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can quick effect tribute one Naturia monster and this card to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Now the reason it's important that this is not a hard once per turn is if you bring it back from the graveyard, it can do it all again. The reason for Rose Whip in this original version is the fact that it is a level 3 tuner, and if you're not able to get Nat Beast, you do then give the ability to control with the Rose Whip. It's not as easy in this particular version to get into something like Barkion, so you do need to be careful against evenly matched, and that's where your side deck comes into play. The MVPs in the Naturias are of course going to be the Camilla and of course the Mole Cricket, because both of them are just absolutely insane additions to Naturias. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Naturias themselves, Camilla has the ability on normal or special to send a Naturia card from your deck to the graveyard, and that's how you can get rid of the Sacred Trees to give you a search. And then if your opponent would tribute a monster, if you would tribute a monster or monsters to activate a Naturia monster effect, there you go, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard instead. If your opponent normal or specials a monster except during a damage state, you get to special summon a Naturia monster from your graveyard. And that's where Mole Cricket is going to come into play, because then Mole Cricket is going to give you that capabilities. Now this is really important between the interaction between Camilla and Sunflower. Camilla can only use the banish from the top 2 or the send the top 2 once per turn. So you get the first effect of Sunflower by doing that, and then the second one you need to tribute both of these. Mole Cricket is just as insane, as during the main phase quick effect you can tribute this card to special summon one Naturia monster from your deck, or you can special summon 2 Naturia monsters if your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack on the field, even if it's tied. And straight away you got 1400 and 0, so it should be very easy to activate and resolve that. On top of that, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters from the extra deck, or you special summon a Naturia monster from your extra deck while this card is in your graveyard, except during damage set, you get to special summon it. Now, that's obviously very easy because these two will make Nat Beast, so at any point that they activate something or try to special summon, you then bring back the Mole Cricket, and then the Mole Cricket's quick effect is in play, and that's how you can get Sunflower from the deck very easy. You can also get Rose Whip from the deck, or you can get another Camilla as well. So that's it for the V and the N part, or the V, I, and N. Let's go for the T part, and that is, of course, the Traptrix. So it's a very small Traptrix lineup of 2 Arachnocampa, 2 Mantis, 1 Momelo, the 1 Viskelos, and the 1 Dioneer. So you've got the Dioneer as a follow-up one. You've also got Dioneer as a recycle for all of your Traptrix traps. Speaking of which, I might as well show you the Traptrix traps at the same time. So triple Holotea, 1 Gravedigger, 1 Nightmare, 1 Floodgate, and 1 Terrifier. So obviously you can kind of see you've got your Momelo to get to these, but ideally the only one you want Momelo to get to is the Holotea. You've then of course got Mantis, which get you to Arachnocampa, but mainly these are your normal summon ones. You've got the Viscillo, which is actually really nice because it's just a free extender in a sense, as long as you have a trap card to send. And I believe it can send any set trap card on the field. Yeah, so it just needs to be a set trap card, and that's where you can get the ability to send a set Sacred Trees, and Sacred Trees then gives you a search. So instantly, off of like a Viscillo plus a tree, you set the tree, activate Viscillo, send this, and then you get Viscillo to the board for free. You can turn that into a Sarah. Then you've also got the effect of Sacred Trees to trigger and resolve. That then gives you your Naturia. You can then normal summon like Mole Cricket, for example, tag Mole Cricket out for anything else that you want to. And this is where it gets quite spicy, is there's also Circle of the Fairies, which is a card in Photon Hypernova that gives you an additional normal summon of a plant or an insect. So that's a more synergy between the two, and that's very easy because like Viscillo, search out Sacred Trees, search out Mole Cricket, normal summon Mole Cricket, tag it out, go into a Rose Whip, and then there's your Synchro level 7 straight there as well. There is a level 3 fairy that can special summon itself that you can add into the deck as well. There just wasn't really a huge amount of obvious space as of yet. So that's it for the Traptrix elements. Now moving on to the rest of the deck. Of course, triple Naturia Blessing. This card is nuts for the deck. Absolutely mental. So you activate one of these effects. You can either special summon a Naturia monster from your hand or graveyard. Very easy. Or, immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro summon a Synchro monster using monsters you control as material, including a Naturia monster. So if you're unable to get the materials on the board, or if you're waiting for the Mole Cricket to get 2 from the deck, then of course you can utilise Blessing. Blessing is probably going to be more utilised to bring back Sunflower so that you can negate again, giving you 3 negates off of a Sunflower and Camilla play. 2 Foolish Barrel of Goods. The target of a Foolish Barrel of Goods, pretty obvious on that one, are Sacred Trees and of course the Holotea, because Holotea is a trap card that during the next turn can also be used to bring back a Traptrix monster. And then the final card is Triple Imperm, because it has the most synergy with the Traptrix engine, mainly the Traptrix extra deck, and on top of that is probably a very, very powerful hand trap, or one of the best hand traps for this format. So moving on to the extra deck, let's talk about the Synchros first. So double Nat Beast. It's rare that you ever need to get into a second, but you might as well have the option to do it just in case, and it also gives you that ability to kind of utilise through a Kashtira line as well. The 1 Circle of the Fairy, so this is a level 7 Synchro, and the best thing about this is the Vernusylph stop you activating non-earth effects. The additional normal summon off of the back of this guy is not an activated effect, it's a continuous one. So it just says during the main phase you get to normal summon an insect or plant monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. Now it's a gained effect, it's not an activated effect. It doesn't go, okay, activate Circle, okay cool, resolve by normal summoning. It just gives you that ability. On top of that as well, when a monster is destroyed by battle involving your insect or plant monster and sent to the graveyard, you get to target one of those destroyed monsters and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of its attack, and then you gain life points equal to the damage inflicted to your opponent. So you do basically the attack swing in life points, which is very important, especially if time is getting close. Then moving on to the Link monsters, of course, triple Sarah, pretty straightforward and simple on that one. Alongside 1 Colaria and 2 Atopus. Obviously, this is your technical boss monster of the deck as well. Very, very important, very, very powerful. And then the Curlier, again, remember it requires insects and plants, so it's very synergized with the rest of your deck as well. Then of course he's got 2 of the Pinicula. This card is actually very, very good for the deck. So generic rank 4, and then again, unaffected by trap effects, and the activated effects of other monsters of the same types of materials attached to it. It then gives you that beautiful ability to detach the added Traptrix monster, which gets you into an Arachnocampa, because then ideally what you're doing is you have the ability of being able to go through Pinicula without even using any Traptrix monster, use this to search out the Arachnocampa, turn it into Sarah, activate Arachnocampa, and then straight away you're triggering Sarah's effect and you've got combo that way as well. And then 1 Alamiris, 1 Rafflesia, 1 Reader, which is actually an acceptable rank 4 that isn't Earth in this deck that you can play, because technically, apart from the effect to run away from the board, you're not going to be using its effect until your opponent's standby phase, and the Vernusylphs are only locking you into Earths for the rest of the turn, I believe, so it is something that you can keep in mind. Let me just double check that. You cannot activate non-earth effect for the rest of this turn. So very important, which means during the standby phase, if you attach with Redoer, you can still use it to run away before you use a Vernusylph as well. And then of course we've got the 1 Baguska, Earth, and then complete control over your opponent should you need to. The only kind of clash that you're going to have is when you're activating Arachnocampa, it locks you into plants and insects, so you do need to be very careful, but then of course that's where you kind of want to be making your Nat Beast first, and then you've also got the access to your circle regardless of what you're locked into or not. And that is Rob's first place Earth Turbo, I suppose, profile. It worked out incredibly well for him. Like I said, it probably had a massive surprise factor, and sometimes just being able to go like Nat Beast with a Sarah and a Floodgate backed up gives you the capabilities to control your opponent's board and their plays, as well as also controlling everything and then building up your own protection. Like, it's very difficult for them to try and get past Nat Beast, and then when they do threaten Nat Beast, it's very difficult for them to kind of deal with it if you're then just going to go, okay, cool, you're threatening my Nat Beast, I'm now going to be able to use Floodgate Trap Hole, Gravedigger's Trap Hole, or even Rafflesia or anything like that. Another interesting tech that he did mention as well was there's a G Golem Link 3 that it needs to be attacked, only your opponent can attack it, and co-link monsters are unaffected by activated monster effects as well. So that's a really kind of cool protection capabilities for something like Sarah, because it points up, left and right, so it can also protect your Atlas as well. So it's got a load of different synergies to help protect the rest of the deck on top of it. Anyway, that's it for the profile. Very spicy, something a little bit different, a little bit more creative, which is always amazing to see, rather than the standard cookie cutter builds. So yeah, well done to Rob again. And as absolutely always, guys, if you want to have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. But for now, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.